Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. It is, I got to change the date on that. It is December 28th. Here we are, a few days after Christmas. So Wednesday, I believe. Hope everybody's doing well out there in the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is where we're at. And by the way, if you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. I hope at least some of you were able to see our documentary on either Christmas Eve or Christmas night on MSNBC, Lone Wolves. If you had seen the documentary, you would know how important it was that we got our legislation passed last year, S-2598. Well, technically still this year, HR 9110. But ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that that did not happen. And I don't know what else you can call it other than just a brazen, blatant betrayal of us by the Democrats. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group, by the way. If you've been with us for any length of time, you will know that we don't trust either party further than we can bowl them. We frankly hate both parties sort of in different ways. It's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. But, you know, ladies and gentlemen, all politics aside, we were really counting on Congress to pass this legislation. The stakes were very high. And I'll talk about partisan stuff in a minute, but we really needed this legislation to pass this year. Speaking of partisan concerns, because we are now headed into a gridlock Congress, ladies and gentlemen, and the political lay of the land is this. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican or nowhere, or somewhere in between or somewhere outside both of those things, you're very welcome in this group. Let me just say, we welcome everyone who's interested in getting student loan justice. The partisan politics are an unhelpful afterthought to this whole problem, but we are very partisan and politically aware. And the Republicans are essentially evil, and the Democrats are essentially the sort of good cop, the hand-wringing liberals or whatever you want to call it. And it is this partisan divide that has allowed us to be shoved into the cracks for years and decades. And so, we've been disappointed in the past, ladies and gentlemen, when various bankruptcy legislation has failed to make it through. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, this one really, really hurt. The last time, there's a long history behind it. The last time we were betrayed was 2010 during the lame duck, the Democrats' lame duck of that year. But, we were betrayed going back to 2008. And, arguably we were betrayed again in 2018. It's been nothing but betrayal from us. But this time was different, ladies and gentlemen. The stakes were far higher this time. And the Democrats were put on full notice. They had all the power they needed to pass this legislation. The bills were bipartisan, by the way, certainly in the Senate. They would have passed a vote with flying colors through both House and Senate. The Democrats could have gotten this done for us, ladies and gentlemen, and they chose not to. So that's what happened. And if you have any questions or comments, as I said, I'm happy to look for them and read them out. We're not making any plans going forward just yet, ladies and gentlemen, because frankly, I'm not quite so sure how to proceed at this point. But here's what I do know, and this is important sort of advice for you. We're headed into a very rough time. All student loan borrowers are going to be headed into a very rough period come January 1st. The clean solution to the student loan problem started with returning bankruptcy to the loans. That is not going to happen. And based on everything that I've seen from Congress, I don't see any possibility of that happening. I think that we have tried the civil route to solve this problem. We've tried to work within the bounds of the law and civility and all those things and the rules of Congress, etc. And I just don't see why. I don't see that as a fruitful endeavor. I don't see that as a wise path at this point, because we will be screwed. If we were ever going to not be screwed, it would have been this session, which right now here tonight is about to expire. This was our best shot, and it's just not going to happen legislatively for us going forward, ladies and gentlemen. We have to assume that it's not. But what's important to know, the most important advice that I can give anyone out there with student loans, and I know 85% of you were, and probably nearly 100% of everybody on this group, 85% of all student loan borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans, even before the pandemic. And so going forward, it makes absolutely no sense for anybody to ever pay on their student loans again, certainly on their federal student loans, in my humble opinion. You may have your own. But I would tell everyone, best advice I have, bulletproof yourself. It's going to get ugly, guys. It just is. We don't know what it really is going to look like at this point. But the best thing that anybody with student loans, certainly federal student loans, can be doing right now is to bulletproof themselves. So maybe that means, becoming a 1099 contractor so that you don't have a paycheck to garnish. Maybe that means, I don't know, hiding your assets and stuff like that. Just the standard bulletproofy things that people can do. Maybe have a conversation with your employer so that if the collection hounds come knocking, your employer will have the backbone to tell them no garnishment for you, unless you come back with a court order. That's a pretty effective way to get around wage garnishment. And other things that you can think of for your own self according to your own situation. Bulletproof yourself. And beyond that, I think that we've got to get way more radical as a group, guys. We're going to have to rise up, ladies and gentlemen, because clearly the pressure that we put on, and it was significant, it was not nearly enough. It wasn't nearly enough. The bad guys in Washington, D.C., the swamp, the student loan swamp, they did not take us seriously. So to everybody out there who was sitting on the sidelines over the past 3 years, thinking that somebody else was going to pull your weight for you, that obviously is not true. And so you need to think about your own situation, and you need to think about think about joining us in this fight. And your livelihood is on the line. So yeah, we are essentially comfortably numb right now. If I was a self-medicating man, I would be very medicated right now. I don't do that, but or if I was a drinker, I would be drinking. And I'm sure some people out there are doing that, but yeah, no, I got to tell you guys, I'm shocked. I'm shocked, and I'm numb that the Democrats would do this to us. I have nothing good to say about any Democrats right now here today. I've almost never had anything good to say about any Republicans, and that's still true. But guys, this one all came down to the Democrats. Even leading senators like Elizabeth Warren went out of their way to not support our legislation. Elizabeth Warren, who taught bankruptcy law at Harvard for years, she was asked point blank by a reporter at our urgings whether she supported or opposed S-2598 in the Senate. She refused to answer the questions. She said, "I don't want to negotiate against myself." And then on the very same day that our House bill came out in the House, companion bill on bankruptcy. She made a big stir, caused a big ruckus, did a big press conference, totally sucked all the air out of the room, didn't even mention the House bill. Instead, she mentioned her own bankruptcy bill that apparently she's going to be introducing this next session, which has no hope of passing. I'm sorry, we're going into a gridlock Congress. So Elizabeth Warren essentially played us like a fiddle. And oh, by the way, that very same day, we were supposed to have a hearing on our bill. And that hearing got postponed and was never rescheduled. So Elizabeth Warren went out of her way to scuttle our legislation. She's supposed to be the number one good guy in Congress on bankruptcy and student loans. So no party for old men, I guess, or something, right? So I know that all sounds very bad, guys, and it is actually, it is very bad. But you know, there's some other things that I haven't said that I think will give you some encouragement. You know, at the end of the day, in the final analysis, ladies and gentlemen, we, the people, control this lending scam. We control it. We hold the purse strings. Congress holds the purse strings over the president. We hold the purse strings over this lending scam. That is true. And even before the pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, this lending system was capital F failed. And the most important absolute the most important absolute truth that I have for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the loans will not be paid. The loans will be canceled. That is absolutely true. I could maybe say the loans largely will not be paid. Yes, but an overwhelming majority of these loans will not be paid. The overwhelming majority of these loans will be canceled. Now, what that looks like is a very open question. If we would have gotten bankruptcy rights returned to these loans, we would have seen a clean, orderly, civil, relatively easy, less painful demise, unwinding of this lending scam. So that didn't happen. On the other extreme, these loans might be canceled through the death of you, of the borrowers. So in other words, you may spend the rest of your life trapped by this unconstitutional, illegitimate, illegal debt. That could be the outcome. So we're fighting for a good, quick, clean death, ladies and gentlemen, something that helps the country, something that helps the economy. We'll turn 38 million distressed student loan borrowers into hopefully once again patriotic citizens who can trust their government. That's the outcome that we're fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. But again, like I said, we're not making any solid concrete plans as of right now. We are comfortably numb. We are listening and we're watching and we're hearing, you know, what people are saying, what politicians are saying. We're monitoring the sort of effect that this documentary that came out last weekend, actually 3 weeks ago, see if that has any resonance in the zeitgeist, that sort of thing. But I'm looking for your comments now, ladies and gentlemen, and I think I'll probably keep this rather short because it is the holidays, guys, that sort of thing. And I know that we all have our eggnog or our other things to occupy our time with. Hey, Christina Witten says, hello, I am here today. Been working on free collaborating materials to help all of us work even more effectively to kick butt and get our bankruptcy rights back with trying all kinds of new things. Sticking with your plan, we will make them get our constitutional rights back. Well, good, Christina. I appreciate your optimism. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are not counting on Congress any longer. We're not counting on the political mechanisms, political mechanical mechanisms of this country to be working for us any longer. I mean, our best shot was just happened, and that didn't happen. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the loans will be canceled. Of that, there is no doubt. The Constitution is on our side. The founding fathers are on our side. You know, I think John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and James Madison and many others are looking down and they're saying, why have our people not thrown this lending scam off of their backs already? Like, we would have gone down to Boston and burned our papers and thrown them into Boston Harbor probably years ago. So how did our people get so weak? I think that's probably what the founders are asking themselves right now. Leslie Fishman says, we are fucked, literally. There's no way to pay the loans due to hyperinflation. Good point, Leslie. You know, when they do turn these loans back on, we're going to be in a high inflation environment where the average student loan borrowing household is having to pay more than they were paying on their student loans in increased inflation costs. So the price of bread and butter and etc. So, before this pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, less than half of everybody was even paying on their loans. In other words, 59, close to 60% of all federal student loan borrowers were not paying on their loans before the pandemic. That is going to go up to 80, 85% whenever they try and turn the loans back on. And so we got that going for us. Student loans are absolutely going to become one huge national joke. In my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dollar on their federal student loans, ever. I mean, honestly, guys, we need to take this to the bath and drown it in the tub. You know, I said 15 or 20% of the people probably at most are going to resume paying on their loans. I hope it's zero. I really hope it's zero. Congress has failed us, guys. All the levers of power that we had available to us failed us. And so we're not going away, right? We're still here. So the only question is where we'll go from here, where as a people, certainly, but more to the point, as a group, that is student loan justice ecosphere, or whatever you want to call it, us, you and me, and Leslie and Matthew and Vanjie and everybody I see here on the live stream tonight. That's the real question. And you sitting there, out there, if you've never seen our live streams before, if you've never done anything with our group, the real question in my mind is, what are you going to do? You know, I've seen Leslie and Joanna and Vanjie and everybody out there, Mike and, too many people to mention. I've seen what they're doing. They are out there fighting the good fight. But the real question is what everybody else who hasn't done a damn thing over the past 3 years, as we have gotten, we got so much done over the past 3 years, guys, so freaking much. That bankruptcy bill wouldn't have happened but for us. That lame Biden loan cancellation would never have happened but for us and our petition. We started all that stuff. As disappointing as it turned out to be, none of that would have happened but for us, the people on this group. So you have a lot to be proud of there. Vanjie says, we've got another best shot moving forward. I don't know about best shot, Vanjie. I think our best shot is behind us, quite frankly. But anyways, like I said, I'm not making any sweeping pronouncements. I'm not making any grand plans for action as of right now. Although I will. So I gave one bit of advice I think is helpful for everybody universally. I will also say, and we've done this before, but I think now more than ever is very appropriate. If you are not going to pay, and if you could make a video of yourself destroying your student loan papers, doesn't have to be actual papers. You can like take paper and write student loans on it or something. It can be symbolic. But if you can make a video of yourself destroying your student loan papers, maybe in very creative ways, maybe you burn them, maybe you take them to a firing range and like shoot holes in them, maybe you tie them to a flying firework, maybe you roll over them with a steamroller, maybe you compost them. These are all very viable methods of destroying your student loan papers. We would love to have that video, and if you can get it to us, maybe get us a YouTube link, or even just send us the video directly, and you can be as anonymous or as anonymous as you wish. You can wear sunglasses, you can do whatever you want, you can make speeches. I would urge you to keep it to less than 30 seconds if you could, please, because that's sort of the attention span of people, or even less than 30 seconds, like 20 seconds would be really good. We will gladly and proudly and loudly post it. My gut tells me it's going to take something like that, guys. It's going to take a groundswell, something like that. But again, like I said, guys, we're in observation mode right now. We're not making any hard plans. Maybe one other final thought of import that I would say is we're going to need your support, guys. We as a group, we did amazingly with just a tiny amount of support from, financial support from the people out there. So if we are going to continue, if we can continue, we're going to need financial support from you guys. That's just what it is. We fought this battle for the past 3 years on, low single digit thousands of dollars a month, like $2,000 to $3,000, I think is probably what we averaged. We don't need much money to fight and win this battle, guys, but we can't do it on nothing. And so I would maybe implore you that if you appreciate this group, if you appreciate where we came from, if you appreciate that all we got done, and all that we need to get done, I hope that you'll be with us, because we will vanish from existence, guys, if our support dries up. And that's just a fact. And I'm very worried about that, quite frankly. I know a lot of people out there are so just completely disappointed. I know a lot of people just want to forget about their student loans and go crawl in a hole somewhere. And I can only say, please, guys, let's not go that direction. This is a fight worth fighting. And if we disappear, then much is going to be lost. Hey, Laura Gail Sweeney said, sorry, just to finish this thought, you can go. Okay, yeah, there's the link right there. Student loan justice donate. I'm worried. Very worried about that. Laura Gail Sweeney says lots of people just don't have the money to pay, especially when they can make it to the end of the month, can't make it to the end of the month during these hard times. Right. And that was true even before the pandemic, Laura. 60%, 58.9% of all borrowers were not paying even before the pandemic. And this pandemic has not helped the economy, ladies and gentlemen. It has not. And people have gotten out of the habit of paying, and inflation is sucking $500 a month from people extra, where their student loan payment was only $400 a month. Like I said, I'll be stunned if 20% of the people resume paying. I think it'll be less than that. Hopefully it'll be zero. Hopefully it will be zero. Are you picking up what I'm laying down, guys? I think that can happen, but it will only happen with a very significant groundswell of people out there in the trenches speaking their minds, telling the truth, and convincing their friends, colleagues, and others why this lending system has to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. It is a national threat at this point. You know, I almost think we need to seize this issue back from the Democrats, because what did the Democrats do? The Democrats took this issue and they politicized it. They wrapped all these cultural memes around it and they pushed the Republicans squarely to the other side of the issue. That was unnecessary. It was very unhelpful. You know, over half of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. The worst hurt states, it's the entire South. It's Georgia, it's Alabama, it's Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi is the worst. Georgia is actually the worst by another measure. It's Texas, it's North and South Carolina. This is not a partisan problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is an American problem. And, you know, interestingly, I got a call earlier from a producer at Fox News, and we chatted for about a good half hour, if not 45 minutes. And I think there are some good people out there on the Republican side, maybe not in Congress, but there are some very good conservatives anyways, who know what we know and agree with us, maybe not on loan cancellation, but certainly on bankruptcy. You know, this weekend, there was a very good guy, Frank Buckley, who went on C-SPAN on Christmas Day. And I would urge you to watch that broadcast. I would also maybe urge you to get your own call in on C-SPAN sometime in the next 2 weeks. One of these mornings, get your own call into C-SPAN. So we are still doing daily actions, guys, from time to time. But like I said, right now, guys, we're effectively on hiatus. We are watching, we are waiting, we are observing. And more than anything, guys, we're waiting to see if the people are going to come around or not. I mean, that is going to spell the fate of this movement. It's going to decide the fate of this group. It's going to decide the fate of the country, quite frankly, because remember, folks, if they can do to other loans what they've done to student loans, and they can, if we let them, if we let this most recent defeat stand, they will do it. They will do it to credit cards. They'll do it to medical debt. They will make all consumer debt essentially non-dischargeable in bankruptcy, and this country will be conquered and enslaved. And it might happen sooner rather than later. You'd be surprised how quickly the dark forces that would conquer and enslave this country can act when given an opening. Leslie Fishman says, many of us can't bulletproof ourselves due to certain circumstances. With all due respect, I'm in complete disarray. You know, Leslie, I get that. Believe me, I'm living and breathing this issue. I've been a defaulted borrower for over 20 years now, and I understand people's concerns, but I also know that people out there are way more afraid of this student loan system than they should be. The student loan people are way more afraid of us than we should be of them. And there are ways to bulletproof yourself. Where there's a will, there is a way. You know, I think people fear the government far more than they should. Everybody's going to make their own decisions. I've given you the data. I can tell you that anybody who does resume paying, even if reluctantly, because they're so afraid of the federal government, they're going to do what they're going to do, but they will be in the tiny minority of all student loan borrowers. And frankly, in my humble opinion, that's not only unwise, I think it's unpatriotic. My opinion. It's going to get tough, guys. It's going to get tough. It's just going to. We had our chance to get a clean civil solution this past go round with Congress. Didn't happen. It's going to get tough. It's going to get ugly. And that is just a fact. So prepare yourself. Christina Winton says, in a similar boat, I have some things in the works for all of us to fight. You will definitely know as I does what we're, I'm not sure what you're saying. Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that Christina is still gung-ho for the fight. And, if we had a million Christinas in our group, we would overwhelm the system and this problem would have been solved years or decades ago. And that's still true going forward. If we can actually amass a functioning army or something like that of, a million people fighting with us, we will solve this problem almost overnight. Student loans will thankfully and appropriately become a thing of the past. We could do that with a million fighting people on our side. And there's no reason that we can't. We've got over 1 million people on our petition. We've got probably 1.45 million people across all of our various platforms. Vanjie says Warren, Presley, and Jayapal are still touting that Biden $10,000 or $20,000 loan cancellation. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't want to digress too much, but guys, we started the student loan cancellation conversation in the public with article we did, interview we did Vice News, but more importantly in 2019, but more importantly with our petition. We didn't call for $10,000 or $20,000 or up to $50,000. No, that's bullshit. All federal loans, all federally owned student loans should be canceled 100%. This $10,000 feckless, fake, performative joke that we got saddled with that was never meant to succeed by Biden and the Democrats, all that succeeded in doing, ladies and gentlemen, was accomplishing the trick on us that I most feared happening. My biggest fear going into this was that we would be tricked and they would foist a fake loan cancellation gimmick on us as a cheap substitute for the bankruptcy protections that should have never been taken away, that must be returned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what happened. We got played exactly like we got played in 2010, exactly like we got played in 2008. Only the stakes now are much, much higher. And the Democrats, this is going to haunt them for years. They made a very, very bad choice in deciding to betray us and squandering this historically rare opportunity they had to do what they have been promising to do 14 years now. Terry Dodd knows what's going on. Terry says, hey, everyone, these loans will be canceled in some shape or form eventually. Yes, that's absolutely true, Terry. I hope it's not by us living our entire natural lives under the weight of this disgusting, un-American lending scam and having them canceled through our death. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's not how they'll be canceled. I hope they'll be canceled in the good way that helps the country, that helps us, that helps everyone. That's what we've got to fight for, guys. Vanjie says, Alan, thank you for staying on this roller coaster. Yeah, well, thanks for saying that, Vanjie. I appreciate it. And so those of you know, Vanjie has been on the roller coaster with us. She's been fighting so hard. And she has felt the brunt of this loan scam more than many. Vanjie has repaid $100,000 back on a $26,000 loan. And they still are coming after her for $130,000+. So Vanjie knows. Vanjie's been hurt worse, probably worse than you sitting there. And Vanjie is fighting this fight. Martha Monroe, she has ALS. My good friend Jim just died of ALS last week. I'm very sorry to report. Rest in peace, Jim. Martha can't speak. She can't even, I don't think, eat without a feeding tube. Martha does our daily actions. Martha is a freaking hero, and I don't like to throw that word around, but Martha is in my view, she is the heart and soul of this group. And if Martha can do these daily actions, you have no excuse. Or whatever we decide to do in the new year. As I said, I'm being agnostic right now, guys. I'm not making any solid plans until the dust settles a little bit. So, guys, I'm sorry. I think we're kind of out of time. I've gone a little too further, too far here. I'm over time, but I will just say, guys, hang in there. Hope and pray, and get ready to fight. And remember, we're not going away. The only question is whether the people are going to rise up and fight this tyranny. And it is tyranny at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So I will leave you with that. We will be thinking things over in the new year. We'll be doing something. So stay tuned. But for now, I hope you all enjoy your holidays. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, etc. And may God grant that this new year is good for the people of this country rather than the swamp in Washington, D.C. And make no mistake, guys, this is the collection industry. They are clinking the champagne glasses this New Year's for sure. They are licking their lips and they are sharpening their knives because this is everything that they wanted. So anyways, we'll have more to say on this. Stay tuned. Good luck to us all. God bless us all. And Godspeed, everyone. We'll be back soon. Peace.